Hey everyone. So today we're going to talk about AI learning, but in a way you've probably never heard before. We're going to break it all down into 6 simple, distinct levels to really understand what's happening under the hood when a machine actually learns. Let's just jump right in.
All right, so let's kick things off with a pretty fundamental question. How do we even measure what a machine has learned? I mean, we throw the term machine learning around all the time, right? But what does that journey from just, raw data to actual understanding really look like? That's the core idea we're going to unpack.
So to get a handle on how machines learn, it's actually super helpful to first look at how we learn. It turns out there's been this amazing blueprint for human learning that educators have been using for decades.
And that framework is called Bloom's Taxonomy. If you've ever taken an education class, this name might ring a bell. It's basically a ladder of learning. It starts at the bottom rung with simple stuff like memorizing facts for a history test, and then you climb all the way up to the very top, which is all about creating something completely new from scratch.
Yeah, you've probably seen a version of this pyramid before, right? Maybe in school. The base is all about the fundamentals, like remembering and understanding. But as you go up, the tasks get way more complex. You're analyzing, evaluating, and then, right at the peak, you hit creating. It's this whole journey from just knowing a fact to actually inventing something new.
Okay, so that's the human model, but here's where it gets really, really cool. What if we could take that same idea, that same pyramid, and use it to understand a completely different kind of mind? Let's talk about machines.
And this brings us to the big what if of this whole explainer. What if we take this exact pyramid of learning and just apply it to machines? Could that give us a clear roadmap for AI? A way to see not just what it can do, but what it can't do, at least not yet? Well, the answer is a big, resounding yes.
All right, let's start climbing this new AI pyramid. We're going to begin at the bottom, with the first 3 levels. Think of these as the foundational skills. They're the absolute basics, and they're crucial. This part explains why some AIs are basically super librarians, amazing with information, but they can't exactly tell you what they think about it.
Everything, and I mean everything, starts at level 1 store. It's the most basic thing an AI has to do. Just like us cramming for an exam, the AI's first job is to just suck in and hold on to raw data. It might be from one source or many, and it often goes through this thing called an ETL process. That's just a fancy acronym for extract, transform, and load. Basically, it grabs the data, tidies it up, and files it away.
So yeah, this first level is the absolute bedrock. It's the hard drives, the servers, the cloud storage, all the digital filing cabinets. It's simple, but without this ability to store just massive amounts of information, absolutely nothing else we're going to talk about could even happen. Okay, so you've stored all this data, but you can't just have a giant digital junk drawer, right? That's totally useless. So that brings us up to level 2, sort. This is where the AI takes all that raw information and starts putting it in order, arranging it so it actually makes some sense. Kind of like taking all your messy notes and finally organizing them into folders by subject. And this step, this sorting and organizing, this is what turns that pile of data into something you can actually work with. It's the key that unlocks the next level. Because think about it, you can't find anything if you haven't organized it first. Which leads us perfectly to level 3, search. See, now that everything's organized, the model can actually go in and find specific things and find them fast. This is your Google search, your database query. You can find that needle in the haystack now, but only because you took the time to sort all the hay. And there you have it, the foundation is complete. These first 3 levels, store, sort, and search, they're the workhorses. They're all about data management. An AI that only does these 3 things is an incredibly powerful librarian. It can find any book in the library for you in a split second, but it can't write a new one. It only knows what's already on the shelves. Okay, foundation's built. Solid. Now, for the exciting part. We're about to climb into the higher levels of the pyramid. This is where things get really interesting. This is where we go from just managing data to something that looks a lot more like, well, intelligence. And here we are at level 4, descriptive. This is a huge shift. The machine isn't just a librarian anymore, it's becoming an analyst. It starts using stats to actually describe what's in the data. It's spotting early trends, finding relationships. The question changes from, what is this data to, hey, what is this data telling us? Yeah, whenever you see charts, graphs, dashboards, that's level 4 in action. It's that magic moment where a spreadsheet of raw numbers gets turned into a story, into an actual insight. The AI is basically a scout that's come back from the field and is laying out a map, showing you what the terrain really looks like. Moving on up to level 5, discriminative.
And whoa, this is another massive leap. We're talking about classification now, making judgments. A discriminative model learns how to draw lines in the sand, separating data into different buckets. The absolute classic example you always hear, teaching an AI to look at a photo and decide, is this a cat or is this a dog?
So, you see, the model isn't just describing what it sees anymore. It's making a call. It's making a decision. It's figuring out the hidden rules that make something a cat and not a dog. And that's a really powerful cognitive jump. It's why this term discriminative is so key. It means the AI can make a choice, not just spit back facts.
And here we are, the summit, the very top of the pyramid, level 6, generative. This is the one everyone's talking about right now. This is where AI goes from understanding the world to adding to it. A generative model understands the patterns in its data so deeply that it can create brand new things that never existed before, but they still feel real, they still fit the pattern.
You know these models. We're talking about things like DALL-E making incredible images, or GPT-4 writing a poem or a piece of code. This is it. This is the AI version of creating. From that original human pyramid, it is, without a doubt, the highest form of machine learning we've got, for now.
All right, we made it to the top. So now that we've seen every single level, let's pull back and look at the whole thing together.
And there it is, the whole shebang, the complete machine learning pyramid. You can see how it all stacks up, right? From that basic store function at the very bottom, all the way up to the creative powerhouse of generative at the top. Every single level rests on the one before it. What you have here is an incredibly useful roadmap for understanding what any AI can and can't do.
So let's bring it all back to the beginning. When you put the human pyramid next to our new machine pyramid, wow, the parallels are they're amazing, aren't they? On one side, you've got a map for how people think, and on the other, a map for how machines think. It's such a powerful way to make this whole complicated topic feel a lot less mysterious.
And that leaves us with one last, really juicy question to chew on. Generative AI is at the top of the mountain today. But we all know technology doesn't just stop. So what's next? What's level 7 going to be? What kind of intelligence is even beyond generative? It's a wild thing to think about. Thanks so much for digging into all this with me today.